You got to be careful of who you leave in charge of your finances, especially when it comes to your final expenses, because in terms of insurance, insurance is a gift from you to the beneficiary. Let me say that again. Insurance is a gift from the insured to the beneficiary, and therefore they do not have to bury you.
That's right.
They do not have to pay your final expenses. They can sit back and wait for whomever to pay for your expenses. That's right. Now, the insurance industry has taken steps to try to help you in that, because then they have to submit a policy. But let me be clear. If the policy that you intended for your final expenses is one of the 5 policies you got with Columbia Insurance, your grandchildren, all they have to do is sit back and wait. They don't need to submit an insurance, a death certificate.
What?
You
want some more?
I have a bottle of water. Because the insurance company already has the death certificate. That's why when I make arrangements with you, thank you, I always ask, are all your insurance policies with the same company? No. Or are they with 5 different companies? If they're with the same company, you only need 1 death certificate, but everybody who has a separate policy with that company can get paid off of that 1 death certificate.
What?
Because the company only needs proof one time that you died.
Whoa. Okay.
And so they don't need everybody. That's why when you tell me, oh, but why'd you send a death certificate when I told you I had an assignment and I sent it? And they're not going to send it back. Only 1 policy is necessary. Only 1 death certificate is necessary. Even if you got 20 policies with that 1 company. Now, if you got 5 policies with 5 different companies, then you need 5 different death certificates. Okay? If you have 1 policy and you left your money to 1 person, and you left, let's say, $5,000 because you wanted this nice service in your church. The person does not, and the person's beneficiary does not have to follow through on your wishes. They can cremate you, get the rest of the money,
and spend it
and
however.
all they need is the 1 death certificate to give to the company so that the company will pay you.
Ain't that something? Thank you.
That's another reason why pre-arrangements
Is necessary.
Because they can't do that with pre-need.
Amen.
Irrevocable agreement, they can't do that.
Amen. Thank you.
If they, and I've had it happen, if they decide you've been a bad mommy or you've been a bad daddy or they don't like you and they want you to go to Potter's Field, they can't get paid because the city buried you. So they would have to pay to dig you up, to have you dug up
Whoa.
and brought back so they can get this 1 certificate. And they'll wind up paying 3 times as much. Because, honey, you think it costs to bury you the first time? Try to go back.
Wow. Thank you.
Go back.
Thank you.
Be clear where you want to rest the first time.
Amen.
Because to go back, you got to pay for the funeral director. You got to pay for the paperwork. You got to pay the cemetery where you're at. You got to pay for you to be dug up. You got to pay for a brand new casket. You got to pay to be transported where you want to be transported, and you got to pay for a brand new grave.
Wow. Thank you.
And Potter's Field still exists. They're calling it Hart's Island because the city wants to pour concrete over those graves that are out there.
Wow. Get out.
And in order for nobody to know what they're doing, they're not saying it's Potter's Field.
Wow. Amen.
Be careful of who you leave in charge
There you
of
go.
your final expenses.
Yes, indeed.
I don't care if it's your child, your grandchild, your great-grand, your mama, your sister, your brother. I don't care who it is, because money and death changes folks.
Yes, it does. Yes, there be many fights out there, church.
That's right.
Honey,
Yes,
tell.
young man.
Are there any more plots left within New York City?
Sure, you want to pay. With New York City, the 5 boroughs. Well, let's put it this way, all of New York, to include the 5 boroughs, you are going to pay a minimum of $5,000 for a grave.
Huh?
And most of them in New York City are between 7 and 25.
Oh.
Wow.
You want $1,000. You want to go to Woodlawn? Woodlawn, from what I understand, family just told to me yesterday, Woodlawn is now charging $18,000 for a double-death grave. And that
Whoa.
does not include the first opening.
Whoa.
New York is that's why everybody go to New Jersey.
Ah, okay.
And now Rose Hill now charges $29.50, which includes the first opening, and reopenings in Rose Hill, Rosedale, and Linden are $1,900.
What do you mean reopening? What's that?
In other words, when you purchase a grave in Rose Hill or Rosedale, it's at least a double. In Rose Hill, it's a triple. In Rosedale, it's a double.
Okay.
You put your loved one in the first time, excuse me, but when you go back to reopen it, that's the reopening fee.
Oh, to bury
And so you
somebody.
have to pay right.
Oh, okay.
I remember it used to be $200.
I remember too.
I remember 12.
Yes, young man.
Can you purchase the plot? Can your child purchase the plot for you after you die? Is it easy, or you got to buy it beforehand?
Say that again. Let me put on my glasses so I can hear you. I know that sounds crazy. Anybody wear glasses know what I mean.
Can someone purchase the grave after you die with your insurance money?
That's what they have.
I'm still not understanding.
Can someone purchase the grave after you die?
The grave that you're in?
No.
Oh,
Let's say I
another
died.
grave.
So let's say I
Right.
died.
Right.
My daughter want a 3-plot grave. She want to buy that.
Yeah.
Can she do that to insurance money? To insurance money.
She can do anything she wants with it.
Okay.
Exactly. She can do anything she wants.
My mom was buried in a 3-plot grave, and we also got the headstone. So you not only have to pay for opening up the grave again, you're going to have to pay
To move the gravestone, to have it inscribed and reset. Yes.
And we know who we want to go in there, and he was saying, well, do you want to put their names on now and just leave the date, the year he died? I said, oh no. I said, because that will kill him. You don't put anybody, I'm not putting anybody's name on a headstone before they
No,
die.
yes,
We just have the hearts that are.
in a deeded grave like that, you would have to pay to move the stone or move the plaque, have the person's name inscribed, and then to have it reset.
Oh, and they're not set in the triple, in the section that my mom is buried, because my mom is buried, it's clay. It's not even soil. So
Are they in New York?
No, it's in Rose Hill.
Oh, okay.
Rose Hill, yeah.
And where?
Rose Hill.
you still would pay to move it,
Oh, yeah.
scribe it, and pay to put it back.
Right, exactly.
In Rose Hill, in Linden,
Yes.
yeah, they call it dirt, but it's that red clay,
It is
whatever.
red.
But yeah, but it's the same thing. It don't. Okay. You understand? Be careful of who you put in charge of yourself. Be careful. Make sure it's somebody you can trust.
Yeah.
And just because they related to you,
I don't mean a thing. It doesn't mean nothing. I don't think so.
not at all.
Oh,
Living wills. Even though they ask you when you go in the hospital, if you have a living will and they want to make one out, you still should have a living will, because not everybody dies a pretty death. In other words, not everybody dies in the hospital attended by nurses and doctors, etc. Unfortunately, too many people die in their home by themselves. And I'm going to digress a second, because, every now and then we have senior moments. My senior moment just kicked in. In New York, when you decease or when you die in your home, if you were under hospice care, then the hospice will be contacted and the funeral director will come and get you. Everything is all well and good. But if you die in your home and you are not under hospice care, then somebody has to call the police department. When the police show up, they want to know, first of all, where all the medication is at, so that they can get in touch with a doctor. And if the doctor does not or cannot sign off on your death certificate, in other words, when I say can't, if you have not seen a doctor in, I'll say 7 days, because they keep changing this. First it was 3 months, then it became a couple of weeks. Now it's down to like 10 to 7 days. If a doctor will not attest to your probable cause of death, the police department is obligated to call the medical examiner. The medical examiner comes in and looks at all your medications to determine whether or not this was a natural cause of death or there was some foul play. Listen to what I'm going to tell you carefully. Depending on the time of year.
Ooh.
Her head just popped up. I'm going to say it again. Depending on the time of year it is, will determine or influence whether or not the medical examiner will rule it natural, pass on taking your remains, and allowing your family to call a funeral director to come and get you. The reason why I say it depends on the time of year, because autopsies are money. Because they're paid for out of research dollars. There was a time when you questioned the cause of death, you could call a medical examiner. The medical examiner would pick you up and do the autopsy for you. They don't do that anymore. They tell you, go get you a medical examiner that you pay for if you're questioning this cause of death.
Wow.
Okay? If the medical examiner takes you, and the time of year when that usually happens is when the residents change disciplines.
Right now.
Which is in June.
Yeah.
June and the end of the year. And they don't play this with Jews and Italians. They only do it with people of color. Okay? June and December is when the residents change disciplines. And so they have to keep work or practice for them. And they will practice on us quick. They'll tell you, well, even when you're in the hospital, they don't know your cause of death. What they're talking about, and it is in your booklet, something called the etiological reason why you died. The etiological reason why you died has to do with genetics. In other words, does high blood pressure run in your family for generations? That does not have to be dealt with in order to determine your cause of death. The state does not require that. So when they come up to you and you're crying your eyes out because of your 80 or 75-year-old loved one and tell you they don't know why they lied, why they died, look them in their eye and tell them you are a liar. If they've been in the hospital more than 6 hours, time for them to do a blood test or a x-ray, they know why they died.
All right now.
They want to experiment.
Yes.
All
And
right.
if you agree, they're able to do anything they want. A natural death is a natural death. If your 75 or 65-year-old loved one has had high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes for the past 10 or years, there is a normal progression to our body organs breaking down as a result of life itself. Stop letting them cut us up. Please, ma'am, please, sir.
Yes, yes,
Because the only one getting paid is them.
yes.
Okay? The other thing is when the police department comes in and you died in your house, they put a seal on the apartment. And quote unquote, you can't get back in to get bank books,
Right.
cash, valuables, whatever.
Whatever, yeah.
While you waiting for them to come, make sure you get all that stuff and put it in your pocketbook. So when they put you out, take it with you. Because what happens is that your valuables are supposed to be itemized by the police department, and they're sent to one police plaza, and then you got to go through changes to get it back, including insurance policies.
Wow.
Now let me tell you what happened, and I'm going to share this, because I know my deacon, he wouldn't mind if I shared this with you. One of the deacons in Macedonia in Manhattan, Reverend Graham's church, he died. And he had resources up the wazoo. He'd never been married, didn't have no children. His mother lived in South Carolina, and you know, she was in her 90s, so we all know Alzheimer's, etc. His cousin was called. She said she was afraid of the dead. Got somebody to give her a chair, and she sat outside his apartment until the police came.
Oh my.
The medical examiner took him, and when we went to do his funeral arrangements, we could not. Because his mother had to come up here and go to Police Plaza to sign off. We explained the situation over the phone. Police detectives was real understanding, but they wouldn't waver. The superintendent in the building knew the situation. He would not unlock the door. He said, police put a seal on it. All it is that piece of yellow tape. But anyway, he would not allow another family member in. Because I didn't have the signature of a qualified blood relative because she refused to do anything. I refused to let him go to Potter's Field. But I held him from early December until the first part of February.
Wow. What?
You heard me. I would not. We embalmed and everything.
Ooh.
But I couldn't get a death certificate because I didn't have a close enough family relative to sign off. His mother had dementia and Alzheimer's. She could not give me permission. The public administrator said because she was alive, they would not step in. And I held it. And there was a cousin that was in South Carolina who had just had surgery, but she went through, I can't tell y'all, whatever. And we participated, on getting him to South Carolina. I shipped him to South Carolina. That lady texted me, maybe 2 months ago, to tell me she had finally been able to have access to his resources to reimburse her and us for what we did. Make sure your information is with somebody. But if you are the one to find loved one, neighbor, whoever, before the police get there, gain access to their resources, because if you don't, they might wind up in Potter's Field. And when I tell you this man has resources, he had pension, he had life insurance, he had bank accounts. He had a nice piece of change nobody could get. And his mother has since died. So the state of New York got a windfall.
Wow.
Because all they had to give up was what could be proven that was given out. He died what they call intestate, without a will, without any duplication of information. I have made copies of my information. My son has, he's like, oh, Mom. Yeah, he's an only child. He's like, why we gotta talk about this now? But it's in an envelope with his name on it. And there's one for other folks. And my corporate lawyer. Yes.
Person died in their apartment, and some other relatives live in the apartment also. They can't steal the apartment, right?
If the person dies in the apartment, and there are other relatives living in the apartment, you got to prove that you, A, live there. Your name got to be on the lease. And you got to have keys. Got to have keys. This young lady first, and then sister.
Just in the same question, the person died, but okay, like in case my mom passed away, and I'm not on her lease, but I'm on her lease as emergency. I do have keys to.
You're not a legal tenant.
No,
No, I just answered you.
Oh.
You're not a legal tenant.
Okay.
So therefore, you don't live there.
So the landlord still, even though my name is on the.
That's between the landlord and the police department, and I can't answer because, like I said, the supers at this deacon's building knew that he lived alone, even knew about the church, knew about the pastor, but he would not open that door. He knew what we were going through. But he wouldn't open up the door because the law does not protect that. So if the landlord, where your mother lives, is willing to take that opportunity, all well and good, and he just might. You might even get some nice officers. But that's the law. That's what they're your name has to be on the lease, and you have to have keys, and you can have keys, and if you can't prove that you live there, they'll take the keys from you.
Wow.
And lock you out. That was my next point, but he asked the question, so we may as well just shoot on to that.
Okay, what about even if your name not on the lease and mail come to the apartment and you have the keys, and that's your proof?
Then mail come to the apartment only entitles you to the mailbox. It does not give you access. You know, it's like, I understand what y'all are asking me and all of these end runs, and I do understand them all. That's why I can answer them, but I'm just telling you not about the end runs. I'm telling you about straight down the middle. They have the power to take them keys, and I know people they've taken them from. And the question becomes, why did you give it to them? Well, they asked for, but why did you tell them you had the key?
But you know, another thing, it's difficult to put your name on the lease because your parents have Alzheimer's dementia, and then they want your income because you didn't.
I got you. I understand. You want me to get my son up in here with you? Because my son's fighting right now. Why can't I have where I live at now? They don't want him to have a key to my door, and he's like, but my mother lives by herself. But my mother's been sick. And they're like, We have the means that if you are concerned about her, you can gain access because we know who you are, but you can't have no key to our property.